Welcome back to another episode of The Dose. We got one more fan question that I wanted to answer here. This is coming from Darker. You guys used to know him as Darker XZ, but he dropped that XZ, son. He's just Darker now. He wants to know what my stance is on gun control. Now, this may be a controversial video, so I'm going to tread as lightly as I possibly can, but I am going to speak my mind. But like I said, I will try to be as PC, if you will, about it as I can, because I know this is a hot topic. Now, this is coming from a U.S. You guys know I live in the United States, so I can't speak on behalf of what's going on in other countries, what's going on around the world, because I don't live there, okay? I can only speak to what my little bubble is here, right? To be honest with you, I could come out and say, I think there should be less guns in the United States. I could say that. And I think a lot of you guys will want to hear that because of all the shootings and stuff that's been happening, in our neck of the woods over the last couple of weeks and months. And of course I don't want to see anybody get shot. Of course, nobody wants to see anybody die at the hands of anything, guns, fist fighting, right? Nothing. Nobody wants to see anybody die. So, but I could say that, and I think, like I said, I think that's what most people would want to hear. I could also say, well, as United States citizens, we have a right to have guns, we have a right to bear arms, quote unquote, and so we should be able to have 20 guns in our house. And I think there's some people who would go, yeah, you're right, and they would agree to me. But no matter what I would say, the other side of the fence would be upset and would be like, why would you side with this and why would you side with that? What I'm going to tell you is the honest to God truth, is that I never really think about it. That is the honest to God truth. And you're probably going, what the heck? What do you mean you don't think about it? It's in the news all the time. And I don't really watch the news, dude. I've learned a long time ago to stay away from the news. The news is like the most horrific thing you can watch on TV, in my opinion. I never watch it. The only time I ever hear about shootings or anything like that is just if I go to the trending section of YouTube, which I'll do from time to time, and there just happens to be a news outlet reporting on something. Most of the time I don't even click it. I just kind of read the title and go, okay, something happened. But I don't really get into all that stuff that much. I just don't. I just don't think that as human beings we can comprehend the entire planet. I don't think we were ever meant to comprehend the entire planet. And what I mean by that is, like I said, through things like Twitter and social media and Facebook, you get to see what's happening all around the world on any given day, and it's all hitting your brain at once. And I just don't think our brain was ever meant to know what was happening in 17 countries on the same day. You got bombings over here and shootings over here, and this country won't start a war with this country, and this country's invading this country. Like, it's just too much for me, man. I just like to stay in my little bubble, my little neck of the woods, and stuff that I can actually control. You know what I mean? That's where I feel the safest. And you're probably saying, well, with guns as with guns with as many guns as there are in the United States, somebody could walk into your apartment right now and shoot you. Yes, that is an absolute fact. That could happen. And that would suck, right? It would suck if it happened at somebody down the road from where I stay. It's never going to not suck to have someone get shot, okay? But at the end of the day, there's no amount of laws you can put out there. There's no amount of bans that can stop somebody from waking up one morning and deciding that they're going to shoot somebody. I mean, you can't. Like, I consider myself a pretty nice guy. I don't have any inclination right now to go on a murder spree. But I could tomorrow. I could a year from now. You could. Nobody knows. Like, everybody has their breaking point. Everybody has that thing that could set them off. You know what I mean? I don't think I ever will. But you can't say for sure. So for there to be laws passed and everybody come and collect all the guns for people, it just in and of itself, that is a crazy notion to even think about, that somebody's going to come into your house and take all the guns you have, and that's going to be across the board, all the United States, every state, and then nobody's going to have any guns. Just the sheer thought of having that actually happen is on a scale that my brain can't comprehend, right? And then that people who own guns are not just going to, turn them in You know what I mean? They're not just going to walk up and just give them over. So I can see it from both sides of the coin. I think the issue is that you just have some people in this world who just are going to do some outlandish things. Now, some people want to sell, they've got mental disorders, which I'm sure some of them may, and I hope that, through proper treatment, maybe we could prevent some of this stuff if it is a mental disorder. But I think some people just want to be sadistic people. They just want to be to be that person. You know what I mean? And they're going to do it. And like I said, even if you take all the guns away, they're going to find a gun. It's not like they're not going to find it. You know what I mean? If you want to get your hands on anything in this world, you can get your hands on it. You might have to do a little moving and shaking to get it, but you're going to be able to get it. I'm not a gun owner, just so you know where I'm coming from. I've never really had an experience with guns, which is why I don't think about this issue. It's kind of like I've had a family member who's had cancer before, so I always think about cancer. You know what I mean? It's always on my brain. But if you've never had a family member that has went through cancer, it may not be on your brain as much as it is on mine. And for me to judge you for not thinking about it would be wrong. You see what I mean? There's probably a million things you didn't think about yesterday that I did. But they're just a non-issue for you because you haven't experienced them. Could I walk out of my house tomorrow and be at a 7-Eleven and there be a robbery and I have a genuine experience with a gun and it totally changes my stance on it? Absolutely. But it hasn't happened yet. You know what I mean? And so I don't really ever think about it that much, to be honest with you. I don't know. I can see both sides of the coin. I see it from a gun owner standpoint. They want to protect their family. I get that, and I also see it from the other side of the coin. Well, there's too many guns and that promotes violence. I see that too. So there's definitely some kind of happy medium in there, but I'm just not one to comment on it because, like I said, it's just not something that I think about every day. Doesn't mean that it's not important, but I just don't think about it. I mean, if I were to ask you guys, how many of you yesterday thought about DLC content and do you feel like you're not getting your $60 when you buy a game on day one? If I ask you that, how many would say, yeah, I thought about that yesterday, it's a big deal to me? Maybe a couple of you would, but a lot of you didn't think about that yesterday. I did. I think about it every day. You know what I mean? It's a big deal to me when it comes to this industry. And I'm not trying to say that that's a bigger thing on my mind than guns, guys. I'm not trying to make the comparison. I'm just trying to put something out there that I know we all are in. You know what I mean? I know that we're not all gun owners, but I know that we all play games. That's the only comparison that I'm trying to make here. But for me to say to you, well, you don't have a stance on DLC because you didn't think about it yesterday, so that must mean you're automatically for it. That would be wrong. It's just a non-issue for you because you haven't thought about it. You know what I mean? So I can't judge you for it being a non-issue for you, and so you can't judge me for it being a non-issue for me. It just isn't for me. Like I said, I shot BB guns when I was a kid, and that's it. I don't go to shooting ranges, and I don't have guns. I've actually worked with people who had a concealed carry license, and it never bothered me. You know what I mean? It never bothered me. I just assumed that because they had a gun, they had went through the proper training and test or whatever it took to get it. Just about like when you see somebody who has a driver's license, you assume that they went through the proper training like you did. Doesn't mean they're going to be a good driver. Doesn't mean they're not going to drive drunk, right? So what do? Take all the licenses away? Can't do that, right? So like I said, anybody can wake up. I could go tomorrow and buy a gun and be a good gun owner for a year, and then something happened in my life and I just flip and then I want to shoot people. You can't predict these things, right? So it's the same way we get like a driver's license. You can't predict that somebody's going to hop in their car and be drunk and try to drive home and potentially kill somebody, right? So do we just remove all the cars from the road? It's just one of those things that I don't know how to fix. So I'm just kind of in the middle. I don't side either way. I think that, like I said, there probably should be more strict rules on how fast you can get a gun and that sort of thing. But heck, I think the same thing about the internet. I think there's some people who shouldn't be on the internet. I almost feel like there should be some kind of test that you have to take before you get your internet license. You know what I mean? And then if you do anything wrong on the internet and you get your license, revoked, you can't use the internet anymore, because I feel like that some people should not be on the internet. But that's just me. What I'm saying with that is you can go all the way to the nth degree with this thing, with everything in life, and it's not really going to solve the problem. You know what I mean? People are going to wake up and do what they want to do, and sometimes you're going to do good and sometimes you're going to do bad, and you're never going to be able to stop the people that wake up and have that switch flip in their head and they want to do something crazy or outlandish. You can't stop that. There's no preventative for that. You know what I mean? Like I said, some of it can be stopped with maybe medicine or treatment or whatever, mental disorders, if you catch them early. But sometimes you can't. You know what I mean? People are just going to do some crazy stuff, man. So, but I tell you this, I don't want anybody to die. You know what I mean? All these shootings that have been happening, I don't like to see any of that. I mean, I can tell you that much, but I don't know that they can necessarily be stopped either. Even if there were no guns, like I said, if you couldn't go down and just grab a gun tomorrow from a store, somebody's still going to find a gun. You know what I mean? It's just like every other thing on this planet. So that may not have answered your question, Darker, but that's the best I can do. It's just not an issue that I think about on a daily basis. It's just not. And for me to sit here and try to, pander to a specific crowd just to make myself look good and say, oh yeah, take the guns off the street, or oh no, it's all right to have guns. I can't really side either way, because I can see it from both sides. And I think there's positives from both sides. There's negatives from both sides. And so for me to be truly honest, I have to call it right in the middle. You know what I mean? It's just not my fight to fight. I'm not a gun owner, so I don't have a dog in that fight, if you will. And I've never had an experience with somebody being shot that I know. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that it diminishes what's been happening with people getting shot. But these are people that I don't know. It's not my experience. You see what I'm saying? So I can definitely see it from their point of view. If you're in it and your friend is shot, or your mom was shot, or somebody close to you was shot, I can definitely see them saying, hey, I wish the guns weren't around. That makes total sense. And I think I'd probably feel the same way. You know what I mean? But because I've never had that experience, I don't know what my answer would be. I just don't. So that's it. We could hash it out in the comments, but it's just not something that I think about on a daily basis. So hopefully that answers your questions. If you guys got any more questions, leave them in the comments below. See you guys in the next one.